Hey, welcome back to Diabolic Shrimp, the least professional talk show on the internet. I'm your host, best-selling author and comic creator Josh Grant, and today our special guest is Konn Lavery. Konn, he writes all these like cool like dark fantasy and horror and just kind of like the king of the night. And he also does all this amazing kind of like graphic design and art around that. Just a bit about him before we bring him on. Konn Lavery is a Canadian author whose work has been recognized by Edmonton's top 5 bestseller charts and by reviewers such as Reader's Favorite and Literary Titan. He started writing stories at a young age while being homeschooled. After graduating from graphic design college, he began professionally pursuing his writing with his first release, Reality. I've read Reality. It's a fantastic book, and that's a great series as well. He continues to write in the thriller, horror, and fantasy genres. He balances his literary work along with his own graphic design and website development business. His visual communication skills have been transcribed into the formatting and artwork found within his publications, supporting his fascination of transmedia storytelling. Woo! All right. Well, we have an exciting show for you. By all means, I see we already have some people down in our live chat. Dr. Wild over there, Jose Roll 39YT. Check out his channel. It's down in the comments. If you have questions down there, are people in the live chat. Throw them at Konn. But we're gonna bring him on. Konn Lavery, welcome to Diabolic Shrimp.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's just so great to have you. I've read Konn's books for years, and so Konn is just so great to put a face to the name.
Yeah. We've talked. I think I was just telling my girlfriend we've been talking for like maybe 4 years.
Yeah, you were one of the early people that jumped on Diabolic Shrimp. For some people that just watch the show and don't know about the website, diabolicshrimp.com is what this is connected to. We have lots of authors on there. Come check out their books. So it's you were one of our early shrimp people, if you will. So it's so great to have you. Well, let's get to know you a bit better. The best way to get to know somebody is through show and tell. So did you bring us something for show and tell, Konn?
I did. I brought a couple things. The first one is an authentic bottle of my tears.
Oh, yes.
It's
right.
So like I collect my tears as I write my stories. You never know when you need those. But
That's a very small bottle for someone who has so many books as you. I'm just crying all the time while I'm writing.
That's the little sample packet.
Okay. you get one if you're like the 10th person to buy Konn's books. So you had to go buy his books. They're down there in the description below.
Yeah, you'll get authentic tears of the writing.
So
it tastes bitter, I'm sure.
Yeah, do you have the bottles of your like blood and sweat and toil as well?
Oh yeah, that's like a premium thing.
Oh, okay.
They're kept away because they're secret.
Fun. Okay. Well, yeah, I'm gonna have to start collecting my tears and collecting. I have all these like random curios back here. None of them are tears though, unfortunately. Well, Konn, it's just great to have you. So let's dive on. You mentioned like you love telling stories through transmedia storytelling. So what on earth is transmedia storytelling?
Yeah, it's the phrase got bounced around a lot, but basically it's telling a story through multiple medias to enhance the audience's experience, and that can be done through audio, visual, written, acting, film, and basically anything that'll basically further the story. And like the biggest example you can probably think of is Star Wars, transmedia storytelling, video games, movies, books, and list goes on. But
action figures.
Action figures, that's another one. Yeah, because they tell their own story on their own. So like I've always been a huge fan of those kind of immersive worlds. So like a lot of people are familiar with transmedia storytelling, they just don't know the words for it, and it just encompasses everything. So that's always been the goal and dream that I've been building with my writing.
Nice. Yeah. And welcome Dawson Lear. I see you down in the comments there. So by all means, throw out questions for Konn if you guys have them. So like, how do you use like transmedia storytelling to tell your stories?
There's the books. That's the biggest one, and then the two branching elements would be the visual, which is done through the book illustrations and the design that goes within them. Like most of my books, as you saw in like the Mental Damnation, have illustrations and glyphs, its own language. And then some of my more, I guess, standalone novels have soundtracks to go with them. I'm a big music nerd, and I love to play as a hobbyist. And yeah, I make a lot of scores to go with it. And I've had musicians contribute to novel scores, so it becomes like a compilation, and then they get involved and you get a cool sound, and these novel scores complement the mood of the story, so you're not really getting like obviously the book, but you're getting extra bonus stuff through these novel scores.
Yeah, and that's that was something I thought was really cool about your work. Like I read like Reality and some of the other ones actually, and then I think I read the whole series actually for Mental Damnation, and like that was something I just thought was so cool. And I read those years ago, but it was like that to me was like, I'm a huge Star Wars fan, so I do know like like some of the stories tell through like comics and stuff. But I just thought that was so cool, like you mixing in like some of these different medium into your own book, especially as an indie author. And so I just thought that was actually quite kind of like in the early days of Diabolic Shrimp, I only had a few people on there, and you were one of them. And it's like I got to kind of pick and choose what I wanted to read first. Nowadays, I just kind of like read it all as it comes, It's like, but like it was like that was what really drew me right off the bat, though, is just like your visual style. I was like, oh, that's so cool. And then your writing is fantastic. So like you live up there in Canada, right? And like from where you live, I'm always fascinated by this. Like from where you live, like how much of that feeds into your writing style? Like I live in Colorado, and I live near the mountains, so I kind of feel like I started with horror as well, and like I kind of feel like being near the mountains, I don't know, maybe has like influenced me into being more of a scary story. So how much of like where you live kind of feeds into your writing style, or not at all?
Oh, it does. It does big time. Like the horror and thriller stuff that I've written, those have highly been influenced by Canada. Two of them take place in my hometown here, Edmonton. And well, the latest one, which is the short story collection, it references Saskatchewan, BC, I believe. Yeah, British Columbia. So like, but in terms of like Edmonton, yeah, but like basing two books off of it just because the city's been inspiring. So like there's always stuff going on. Like a not favorable known name for Edmonton is Stabmonton because it's number 5 in crime in Canada. So it's
this episode is brought to you by the Tourism Bureau of Edmonton.
Yeah, and at the time, I don't remember what year it was, but the chief of police said it on the news. He got in a lot of trouble. But I put that in my book. I was like, it's hilarious. I have not been stabbed.
I've been to Canada once, and I guess I'm going to be more scared now. I thought it was very kind.
No.
Oh, that cracks me up. All right, so well, speaking of influence, then like, sorry, I'm not going to get past Stabmonton now. Speaking of influences, like both your art and like your writing, like take on these like kind of darker, more surreal styles. And so like, what would you say have been some of your like biggest influences?
Oh, biggest influences. I'll throw a mixed stuff because Clive Barker's been a big one. Huge admirer of his work. Yeah, I'd say for writing, he would be the closest in terms of just in general life stuff. A couple of musicians do. One guy's named Clayton. He had the band Cell Dweller, but he was very DIY. So like basically doing indie back in the 90s. When it was a little more difficult, and he basically left his record label, started his own record label, and then he branched off into transmedia storytelling too, where he collaborated with an author and did a score for his book. Then they did a video game app. So it's cool stuff like that when people just basically come from nothing and manage to stick to it and grow.
Yeah, and it's like one of the things I love about yours is like you have this kind of creative, you have this visual style, and you have this like you have writing and you have music. You're such a creative person. Like what do you play, by the way?
Well, I'd say bass guitar would be the closest. Yeah, like before the pandemic hit, I actually had a whole music project set up and I was going to start doing live shows, but obviously that didn't happen. But I'd say bass and I jump around on a bunch of stuff. I've got a percussion drum, I've got some synthesizers, some samplers, and then obviously I also have vocoders, which was going to be part of the music thing.
Yes, I'm
But
so excited about that. We tested it
yeah,
out earlier, and I was over the moon.
oh, they're fun.
So,
Like, yeah, and I bought them for that project, and it created a really like industrial sounding voice. Yeah, and now I'm just repurposing them for audiobooks and stuff like this.
yes. Well, I was like, well, yeah, we have a decent amount of people checking us out live right now. So if we get enough of you down there, by all means, throw it in the comments. We'll make Konn play something for us if enough people scream about it. Just joking. I always like trying to put people on the spot, but I would hate it if someone did that to me. I'm so nervous trying to sing in front of people.
And I haven't rehearsed, since early 2020. Like, so it's been
perfect.
Over a
We'll do a duet. We'll sing your the first few or the several pages from your book later. So on like the art and graphic design of things, like what has been one of your like favorite like visual or like sound projects you've ever worked on?
Ooh, that's a tough one.
And that's why I'm here. I'm supposed to ask the tough questions.
Yeah.
I can't let you off the hook.
No, because they're all so different. I'm gonna say for visual, it was when a good buddy of mine, who's a illustrator, Lee Nielsen, he introduced me to something called photo illustration, that I'd never heard of before. And basically, photo illustration is it's like collages, but you paint over top of them. So when he kind of showed me that, then I started exploring a whole new medium form, and this would have been the first, piece that I actually did.
Oh yes,
as a
do
photo
hold it up.
collage. Yeah, so like they start off as photos, but then
That's a great book,
you
by the way. I've read that one.
oh, thanks. Yeah, it's Edmonton. Yeah, so like you cut them out. I'm very hands-on, so I'll print all these pieces out, cut them out with a knife, and then glue them back together, then paint over top of them with gouache and charcoal, and scan them back in, and then do some contrast and light corrections on them. So discovering photo illustration would have been the most exciting thing, because that seems to be what I do a lot of now.
And man, I love that. See, I'm a very like hands-on person too when it comes to like my writing and everything. I write it all longhand, and
Oh, wow.
sometimes I'll draw stuff just for the fun of it, you know. So yeah, we got a few. We have a question right here from our live show here. I'll throw it up there. So Dawson Lear says, "What's your songwriting process in terms of storytelling?"
Ooh, that's a good one. Yeah, like when I first started making music, the books and then the music were really, really related together, and then they started to branch away, and that's when I made that musical project that was going to be played live. And it's the song process has changed. Sometimes the lyrics come first, and I write them down, but then you start singing or speaking them, if it's spoken word, over a beat, and then it's like, oh, this isn't working, so you change it up. Sometimes, more often than not, though,
that's me. Anytime I start singing over any beat, I'm like, oh, this is not working. Change it up.
It's true, and like I find more often than not, though, I don't know the concept, but I do some jam sessions, and I don't use any soft synths, which are on the computer. I have all the hard synths and stuff, and bass and whatnot. So I'll actually have a jam, and I'll have my drum machine going, my bass guitar, and I'll just hit record, and I'll record for 10-minute sessions. Then I go back and listen to it. Then I try to listen to what the song is telling me, and it's like, oh, okay, so there's a good bass loop in there for like 3 seconds out of that 10 minutes. If I keep building off of that, and then eventually the theme comes to me, and then I'll find samples and write lyrics to that.
Nice. And yeah, by all means, if other people we have a decent amount of people watching live. So if you have questions for Konn, throw them up there. I'll throw them out to him. So, and Asher says, hi, Asher Taylor. I know you can't see these. So all right. Well, you pour like a lot of your like graphic design and art into your writing, and like you said, that transmedia storytelling, which you kind of talked about it a little bit here, but it's like, which kind of comes first, like the chicken or the egg? Like which one influences the other one? Like, do you start with like a picture and then you build the story around it, or do you go the other way?
I do It kind of kind of goes both ways. More often than not, though, for a lot of these photo collage or illustrations that I do, they're for a monthly short story that I do on Patreon, and I'll show you one of the newer ones.
Yeah, please do. Yeah, we're all about shameless self-promotion here, so throw them
Yeah,
up there.
so this is a new one that I did it's actually the first one on Patreon. And the cool thing with this is I discovered a site called Art Breeder.
Uh-huh.
I would definitely recommend checking it out because everything is driven by AI. So these faces don't
Interesting.
exist. So like before, I would use stock photos that I'd purchased and print
Uh-huh.
them out. So these were real people. But these people, oh, there you go. They don't exist. They're
Just
purely
like me,
driven
I'm
by
I'm
AI.
actually a AI generation, that's
Oh no.
questioning you.
I wouldn't be surprised in today's age, but
It's Dot Phillip. No.
oh. Yeah, so like I find with these I'm treating them more like movie posters.
Uh-huh.
So the story tends to come first more often than not. So like here's a sci-fi one that had come out.
It's cool.
These planets were created originally in Art Breeder as well, and then I painted over top of them. Or this one, which is more fantasy, little different style.
Nice.
Yeah. So the story tends to come first lately.
Nice. Well, I was like, I tend to like come up with a story first now, like draw stuff along with it. That's what gets me passionate. I'm not very good at drawing, but I've been playing around with it lately. Even though I do comics, I'm more the story side of that than the visual side. So I find your creativity just so like always blows me away. So well, let's dive into we're going to talk a lot about into the macrocosm, and we're going to talk, which is one of your newest ones, and so we're going to talk all about that. But first, let's share the first lines of your book. And I always play, and then the murders began. If you ever want to like do that with a book, you read the first few lines and then you add, and then the murders began, just for the fun of it. So here we go. Here's the first few lines of Into the Macrocosm. An explosion. Wait, no, a car crash, stabbed or hanged. And then the murders began. It actually kind of works. And so,
it actually does.
So like, so there, obviously you dive right into the beginning of Into the Macrocosm. So let's dive right into it. Like, tell us a bit about Into the Macrocosm, and even like what even is a macrocosm. It makes me hungry. It sounds like macaroni. So it's about dinner time. So
macro is large versus micro. So it basically encompasses a world. So macrocosm is the world, and kind of circling back to that transmedia storytelling, I've always had this overarching superverse that I wanted to build with like the Mental Damnation series, with like the thriller Yegman, eventually this branching off into sci-fi. So the Into the Macrocosm is essentially the name that I'm using to encompass the world, the universe that all these stories take place in. And because the short story collection Into the Macrocosm it jumps around genres. It goes from fantasy, sci-fi, horror, I guess literature, in more of a pure sense. Into it seemed like a good name for it, because you're going straight into the universe, and you're jumping times, you're jumping locations and perspectives, because they're all different short stories that are connected by one overarching narrative where it's told in the second person. And as a tribute to all my readers, is the second person is you trying to figure out what happened to you. You lost your memory, and a character, Malferetti's from Mental Damnation, is trying to help you figure out, okay, who are you and what happened to your memory? And that's the overarching theme as to why you and Malferetti's are trying to go into these short, or basically other people's lives, which are the short stories.
Nice. And so I love that like kind of connection across across that's exciting. Actually, I didn't know that they were connected. So groovy. Okay, well, so is it, so I guess it kind of in a way sort of answers this, but like is this a one-off, or is it kind of like the start of like a larger series, or kind of almost like a spinning off into something bigger? Because I can totally see something like that expanding.
The whole universe will keep growing, but for the short stories, it's going to keep going. All of them are actually started as on my blog about 3 years ago, so they all have let's find one. So here's one. They all have illustrations in it too.
Oh, cool.
That were photo illustrations, and they 3 years worth of short stories in here, and they were all from the blog. And I've been consistently doing the monthly short stories, which now migrated into Patreon. So I'm going to do the same thing around the 2 or 3 year mark. I'll take a bunch of them and then revise them, clean them up, put an overarching narrative, and then that's going to be book 2 of Into the Macrocosm. So it's just going to be volumes of short stories.
Nice. I love that. And so, I think I see something like that, like that feeds so well into it, being able to explore these like different universes, or macrocosms. I'm gonna start using that. I live in Colorado. I'm gonna start calling it the Colorado Cosm or something. But so like as a writer, what was your like favorite one of these stories to craft?
Ooh.
Like just person, I know it's always hard to choose favorites, but I mean, because your stories are kind of like your children in a way. But it's like, but which one did you just have like tons of fun with when you were writing it?
Oh, I'm gonna have to go with the one called Mercer Warehouse Haunt. And I can't take full credit for the idea because there's a place called Mercer Warehouse in Edmonton here.
Savington. Sorry, I'm gonna give your place a bad name. So Edmonton, anyways, go on.
So a buddy of mine worked in that building, and it's like a multi-leveled place where they've got different stores and businesses, and they had a school in there. And he was trying to run this joke where he was trying to convince everyone that the place was haunted by a horse ghost. And it was actually working. But when you start piecing it together, it doesn't make sense because the school is on the 3rd floor. And he was like, yeah, no, it's a horse haunts the school. And it's like, you can't have a stables on the 3rd floor of an old building, but
you can't have their ghost stables. Okay.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah. And it's funny because he was at one mixer one time, and I guess the story spread around, and someone mentioned it to him asking, like, did you know this place is haunted? And so like him and I came up with we were like, oh man, we should totally tell a short story. And then when it originally came out on the blog, I was like, hey guys, so apparently I actually played into it. I was like, so apparently Mercer Warehouse is haunted. And I was really inspired to elaborate on this story. So the whole thing's just this giant joke. And the story itself is kind of hilarious because it's about a guy who is working late at the Mercer Warehouse, and he gets confronted by the horse ghost, and he gets a spiritual awakening.
As horse ghosts do, It's like,
oh yeah,
that old chestnut. Lindsay's saying lol ghost stable. So yes, go ghost stables. We'll make it a thing.
Yeah, for real.
So like what for you is like the most difficult one you had to put together story wise? Like what did you kind of struggle through?
Let me pull it open. Yeah, because there's 22 in here. So I'd say, let's take a look. I would almost say my very first sci-fi story. And it's a part of the macrocosm I do want to visit and eventually tell like an actual novel on. It was called Harvesters, and it's a shorter one. It's like 1,000 words, but I've always wanted to explore a bit of sci-fi horror, and it's a tough one to do, like because I'm a big nerd of like Alien, and used to play the original Doom video game. Yeah, like fun stuff. And like how many things can you do? Like there's that movie Event Horizon, like you can do space demons, you can do aliens. Like how do you make space scary without just doing the same thing? So the trick that was really tricky for me to kind of piece it together, and ultimately ended up basing it off of Stephen Hawking's biggest fear for humanity, which is class separation, where you do get this real harsh divide of rich people getting advances through technology because they have the money, and then everyone else just shrinking down. So the whole thing was based off of that, mixed within biohacking, with like CRISPR technology that's really growing in popularity lately, where you can modify genetics. So
that's how I got this hair.
See, it works.
It's all CRISPR Cas9 up there.
Yeah, it's effective. So that would be the hardest one. Yeah.
Interesting. Why was this like so difficult for you to write?
I had never tackled sci-fi before,
Oh,
and I've
okay,
read
so it
some
was like
sci-fi.
stepping into the unknown. So
Yeah, and keeping it horror because you got hard sci-fi, which is not something I really wanted to get into. So it's like, how do you keep that mystery and wonder? Where I know sci-fi readers, they do want some explanation, but you can't obviously give everything away. So it's like, how do
Mhm.
you ride that line? Um, so like that was the fun and challenging part, but I think it
Yeah.
came out okay.
Yeah, go full Lost, the show Lost,
Yeah.
and don't explain anything. so, which one of your stories could you like in Macrocosm, like would you love to see like expanded into a movie? Like which one could you see like becoming a movie?
Oh, definitely would be the Harvesters one then. Yeah, because there's a there's a follow-up short story into the macrocosm called Scrappers, and it's one
Uh-huh.
of the longer ones, and it's about 10,000 words, but it follows the same themes and the same struggles as what's in Harvesters. So I think something probably based in that would make a really cool movie.
Nice. And who would you see like playing the main character or main characters?
Ooh,
Yeah, you have to cast your movie now. I'm terrible at casting stuff. Like,
yeah.
I'm always just like Arnold Schwarzenegger. It'll just be
Yeah, he's
everyone.
still doing stuff.
He plays everybody.
Oh yeah, okay. So there's two main characters specifically in Scrappers, and there's a kind of middle-aged dude. I would say Jason Stratham. Yeah, he would
Nice.
kind of play him because he's got this rough thing going on, jaded, and then there's a younger girl who's the actual protagonist. She's like 25 or something. That's a good question. I don't really know. I've never really put a face to her. Even though it's through her perspective, you get all in her thoughts, but I
Mhm.
never really paid attention to what she would look like.
Then we'll just
Hmm,
go Sigourney Weaver since you mentioned aliens
sure.
earlier. There you go.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Yeah, yeah. She can do it.
So I started reading your work way back with Reality. Like I said, that's an excellent series, mental damnation series. So like how has your writing changed since then?
Ooh. Yeah, that's a good one. It's mutated so much. The biggest leap I saw was when I started to use Dragon software, which is speech to text,
Uh-huh.
and it helps speed things up because you can always talk faster than you can write, and to pump out
Yes.
a
Oh,
first
so
draft,
when you're writing, you just speak it and then you
spitball
edit
it.
it all
Yeah,
later. Oh, okay.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
really cool.
Yeah, yeah. So it was kind of a fun way. And for some of the short stories and stuff, I do go back to just writing and enter that trance. But that was a big change because it really forced me to look at the words I was using. And because I'm talking the story out, dialogue became a lot more natural because it's like when you start speaking out loud, you're like, I don't think anyone would ever speak that way. So that helped a lot. And making better use of fewer words, so cutting down a lot. That was the big jump. And since um reality went through stuff because it first came out in 2012, then I relaunched it and it came out in 2017 as the second edition, where it got an entire overhaul. And even since 2017, compared to Into the Macrocosm, they're just it feels like night and day.
Uh-huh. So interesting. Okay. Well, yeah. I feel like mine's like just slowly declining. It's becoming like wingdings or something. It's like practically illegible. But like so across the different ones I've read of yours, I put down the description of this one. It's kind of like cosmic horror and dark fantasy, but you write you
Yeah.
write a whole lot of other stuff as well, though. Too. And it's like so, but across all your different things that you've written, like you have a lot of like interesting like monsters and villains as well. So like which was your favorite creature to spawn or villain to build?
Oh, it would probably be the one we'll be reading later,
Excellent.
Malferetti's. Yeah, because he's plays such a prominent role in Mental Damnation. He's got this Cheshire Cat vibe about him, but a little more sinister, and that's why I brought him back as the guest, like supporting the hero, or you as the reader into the
I am the
macrocosm.
hero on the show, so thanks,
Yeah,
Konn.
you are. Well.
You're the villain.
Yes, I'm good with that.
Yeah, and you're all going to see if you stick around later. By the way, we have a decent amount of people watching this. Like, stick around because you're going to get to hear Konn's voice change. It's going to be so cool getting to hear that villain come to life.
Yeah.
So like, if some cosmic being just came and like said you have to revisit one of your previous works and expand on it, which one would you choose?
Oh, that's funny because I'm already roughly plotting
Yeah.
a spin-off for Mental Damnation.
Okay, good. Okay, that's actually really exciting to hear because I really love that series. So
Yeah.
good. Well, I'm the cosmic being that told you to do that, so
Sweet.
get on it.
It'll happen.
So like, what's kind of one piece of walk away writing advice for aspiring authors out there? We have a decent amount of authors. We have a lot of authors on diabolicshrimp.com. We have a lot of authors that like to watch this, and especially some younger ones that want to learn how to write. So what is like one piece of walk away writing advice you'd love to give them?
Write a lot. It's probably more often than not going to be good, but that's okay because you can always go back and revise it. Like,
or you can just publish it like I do. All my stuff is not good, but I publish it and it sells. So whatever.
Well, yeah, no, that's a great point. Yeah, like, man, if I had all this wisdom I had when I started back in technically 2011, like I do everything differently, but I'm glad I just hit the publish button. Same thing. Like, yeah, just write, keep writing. You'll keep and read lots because you'll discover things that the way authors use language, and you're like, holy crap, you can do that? I never thought of that. And then you kind of explore new ways of writing.
Truth. Yeah. And then just talk at your computer because apparently Konn can write that way. I'm going to have to look into this because that makes me excited as well. So I'm learning stuff from you, Konn. So
cool. And if you've got weird names, you can tell Dragon the name beforehand. So if you start saying like Malforetti's, it'll know what that means.
Nice. It's cool. Like, that's my spell check. I told to memorize all these names, and now it like auto corrects when I'm just trying to type an email to somebody. It's just like, or did you say like Asajj? I'm like, I don't know. I guess I don't know. So what would be like I love to ask this of authors too. Like, what would be an existing franchise, whether it's like video games or movies or books, like that you would love to write a story in if they came and asked you, like we want you to be our writer. Like, what would be a story you would love to tell or would love to write in?
Oh, that's a weird draw, and I'm torn because it's tough. It'd either be the Alien franchise or the Warcraft franchise.
Yes,
Warcraft was a big inspiration for Mental Damnation.
Yeah, well, then you can like just bleed them across the lines, and it basically becomes StarCraft, you know.
So, actually.
All right, well, cool. Well, I want to be able to show off your book, Into the Macrocosm, and so we're gonna get to read some pages together. Yes, and so I'm excited. So Konn, set the scene for us as we dramatically read for our audience.
Yes, because it starts here with the snippet starts with Malforetti's. So
yeah, let's hear Malforetti. You have to listen to this if you're watching.
Hello, I'm Malforetti.
I love that so much. I'm going to get one, and I'm just going to interview people like that. We have somebody that's coming on for a children's book, and I'm just like, did you draw these yourself?
They're fun.
This makes me so happy. Okay, so we're going to super dramatically read. Try not to be too terrified of Konn's voice as Malforetti comes to life. So Konn's playing Malforetti. I'm playing the narrator / us, the audience / reader / main character. So and here we go. And what's the lead up to this scene? Like what's happening?
So it's actually the first chapter. Which is the introduction, and it's called Welcome to the Midway. So from those first lines, you're not sure how you died, and you went through euphoria, and you saw a bunch of colorful lights, but then you got sucked away from it and basically thrown onto this plateau that's floating in an endless ocean, and you're like, what the hell is going on? And then you hear a voice, and that's exactly where we get left off.
Okay, well, that's actually how our guests get onto the show as well. That happened to Konn a second ago. So, all right, whenever you're ready, Konn, here we go.
Okay.
No mortal ends up falling into and out of death's vortex.
The voice continues.
This may even be a first.
Lightning and thunder erupt from above, catching you off guard. You take a step back, walking into a light blue smoke channeling below your feet. You move, it follows, growing larger. You try to shake it off as it spirals up your limbs. Maybe swatting will work. Nope. Your hand goes right through it, and you hit yourself in the junk. It looks like you can feel pain again, too. The animated fog swirls away from your lower region and into open space. Dark blue and black smoke follows, appearing from the unknown as the elements clash together, moving through and around each other. They compress and mold into a torso, lean arms, and a skull with an extended muzzle, sharp teeth, white eyes, and tentacle-like black hair form. The being's inner core contains the bright blue vapor, while the other smoke transforms into a translucent outer layer. Like the white of an egg. Even without pupils in the glowing white eyes, the being is undoubtedly looking right at you. There are no legs. It floats effortlessly above the dissipating smoke below, endlessly channeling from the body. The tentacle-like hair flows up and down in a zero gravity state, unlike your body, which is clearly bound by gravity.
Well,
The being says, folding its arms, exposing the crosses scarred on its wrists. You are speechless, uncertain how to reply, and you say, "Am I dead?" The being laughs.
am I dead?
It repeats.
I'm guessing you were a comedian in your past life.
You pause, thinking about the question. Were you a comedian? Now you're uncertain. You try and think back to the jobs you've had. Blank. Nothing. There is a giant gap in your knowledge. This is disturbing. You try and recall anything else about your past. Loved ones? Your first kiss? Family? Places you've been? The food you like? All of it. Gone. You've forgotten every memory and everything you knew. Yet, you're you. You know it. You look down at your hands. Yes, those are yours. I don't remember anything.
No, you wouldn't.
The being says. What do you mean? I know I had a life. I was there.
Yet you can't recall a single memory.
The thought annoys you. Lacking memory is frustrating. It's there, like a dream fading away while waking up, leaving you with nothing but vague feelings. What is happening to me?
You're dead. You got that right. So keep observing your surroundings.
Dead. The being confirms it. You had a life. One that has slipped from your memories. A brief moment of sadness washes over you, for all the things you cherished in life are now gone. You can't recall any of them, no matter how important they once were. You want to freak out and scream in horror. Your lungs tighten as you forget to breathe. Your hands are shaking. Energy hums through you as you're about to have a conniption. The being speaks, pulling you back into the moment.
What interests me is, how did you end up here?
The being asks, coming closer to you, only in arm's reach apart. This can't be. I'm dead?
Yes, we just discussed that.
You rub your fingers together, feeling the texture and pressure of your skin. How? The being extends one of its long claws, poking your forehead. It hurts. The skin is punctured.
That is what makes you a fascinating anomaly.
You touch the pierced spot on your head. There's a small bead of blood. You can feel pain. You have to be alive. And then the murders began. Da, da, da. So fun, yes. Oh, I love it.
That was fun. I like that.
I enjoyed it. I was about to start throwing in, my life for Nuzul or something, So, well, yes. Well, this has been a blast, Konn. We're just about running out of time here. So, we as a community, we always want to support you. So, how we already have by the way, if you want to check out any of Konn's books, we have his website, down in the description below. We have his books, his Amazon author page down there. Check out his website too. He has all these cool visual things that also go with his books, that transmedia storytelling, as we talked about. How else can we support you, Konn?
I actually recently this month launched a Patreon. So if you do
Excellent.
enjoy short stories, transmedia, you can find more of this stuff on my Patreon, which is patreon.com/Konn Lavery. It's right on my website too. That's going to be kind of the big focus this year, and it's going to have lots of cool stuff.
Nice. And so, and
Yeah.
if people jump on and like support your Patreon, I know they usually like throw things,
Yes.
like you throw stuff in there. So what's like, what do they get, I guess, if they subscribe to your
Yes.
Patreon?
It's got one tier, keeping it super simple. It's zine style, so you get the monthly short story in written and audio format, which also has music to go with it. You get a high-res version of the background or of the cover art for the short story, so you can use it on your phone if you'd like. If you sign up, you do get an ebook copy of Into the Macrocosm. So
Cool.
right off the bat, you get a full-on ebook with all the short stories. I'm also going to be doing sneak preview chapters of upcoming books. I've got a new horror that I'm aiming to come out in the spring at some time, so you'll get to look
Cool.
at that. I've got author interviews, and I've got a fun one. So if you want more Malferetti's, here's a collage of him. I'm actually interviewing him on the Patreon, so he
Fun.
gets interviewed.
Okay. Awesome.
Yeah.
I felt like I was just interviewing him.
I know, right?
So,
He's busy.
yeah. Well, great. Honestly, Konn, it's been a blast to have you on here. We'll get you back on in a few months' time for our check-in segment of Diabolic Shrimp if you want to be back on. But thank you for being on Diabolic Shrimp.
Yeah, thanks for having me. This has been a blast.
All right. Well, I'm going to send you back into the macrocosm as I say goodnight to our viewers.
Yeah. Ciao.
Night. So, well, thank you all very much for coming and spending the evening with us, checking this out. If you want to support Diabolic Shrimp, by all means, hit that subscribe button down below. Check out diabolicshrimp.com. Buy any of my Joshua Grant's books. Percentage of all these things, any extra money I make from this, I put towards universally good things like child disease research and ocean exploration. So you're not only helping us out here as indie authors and authors in general, but also helping out the world. But we appreciate you taking the time to hang with us. I wish I had that evil diabolic voice to say goodnight. I'll try, I guess. This has been another Diabolic Shrimp. Have a good night.